Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shruti Smruti Purananamalayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Prayatnadyatamaanastu Yogi Samshuddha Kilbishaha Aneka Janma Samsiddhaha Tato yati parangatim. Yogi samshuddha kilbishaha. Yogi means the striver, one who is striving for the realization of the truth, which is one who is striving to realize the oneness with the whole, oneness with the Brahman. So that is the yogi. That is the purpose of Vedanta. Suppose you want to go to heaven, then Vedanta is not the goal, pursuit. Dharma, then you have to acquire some punya, and that will take to heaven. That is the promise. You have to rely upon that. That comes under the category of belief system. That is not here. Here, you want to realize your oneness with the truth. That is the yoga, conjunction with the real. So, for that you have to become samshuddha kilbishaha. That is the inner transformation that should happen. You see, there is a thing called inner transformation. Why should I highlight that? Because in the day-to-day life, that is the artha kama life, they don't want you to transform inner transformation. Suppose you go to the bank, the people they are working in the bank, they want you to transform inwardly. They want any of that? No. As long as you have enough money in your pocket, you are welcome there. They don't want inner transformation in the customers. Suppose you go to a mall, they want you, mall is kama, bank is artha. So in the mall they don't want inner transformation in you. They want the money in your pocket. And you want the pleasures which they got to offer. Okay? So that is how the world works. Suppose you go to a temple, say, let us say, and do some puja, which is fine. But do they insist on inner transformation in the temple? The pujari or the puja, the process that is performed, does it have anything to do with inner transformation? No. So people come to Vedanta. So instead of taking something from Vedanta, they put all that baggage into Vedanta. Look at that. It is like going to the hospital and carrying a few infections into the hospital. So we go to hospital to get rid of infections, not to take some more infections there. Therefore, in Vedanta, it is all about inner transformation. That is Vedanta. Now, for some reason, if you believe that there is nothing to transform inside you, everything is fine, and we are not looking for any inner transformation, then Vedanta is not for you. It is not for people. Because people, they come for Vedanta as a kind of entertainment. Or what they say, time pass. It is something like, once I was traveling in a train, so my dress etc. is very visible, and I was traveling in the train. So in that part where I was sitting, total 8 people will be there, right? 3 plus 3 plus 2. 6 plus 2, 8 people we were sitting, daytime. And these 7 people, one of them got a bright idea. Hey Swami, why don't you teach some Vedanta now? So I was very amused. I asked him, why should I teach Vedanta? In any case, why should you listen to Vedanta? Why Vedanta now? What is the special about it? They said, you see, this train goes to Vijayawada, it will take 6 hours, and in the meanwhile, what will we do? You teach some Vedanta. And in the meanwhile, the coffee person comes and we will get coffee to all of us. Coffee or tea. And samosa also will come in Indian train, so we will get samosa, tea, and you can teach Vedanta. So this is the attitude. People come to Vedanta like that. So Sunday, there is nothing else to do. And that too once in a fortnight, first Sunday and third Sunday. So what do you lose? So between 10 and 12:30, and then there will be a nice lunch also. Okay? So let us have some Vedanta this Sunday, like that. That is generally, I am not saying about you, but generally that trend, that is the trend. And sometimes we are also happy with that, because we too need not undergo any inner transformation, you too need not undergo any inner transformation. So the Gita verses we chant and move on. So that is not the way to approach Vedanta, that is not yoga. And such a approach, so how to describe that approach? We can call it a nonchalant approach, very routine kind of approach. That doesn't serve any purpose. So you have to ask this question to yourself. Why am I listening to this speaker? You have to ask that question. Why am I listening? Unless you ask that question, some of the points which I am saying may not come to your attention. When you ask that question, then what I say becomes relevant. Yeah, true. Maybe that is how we are looking at it. So why are we listening to this speaker? What could be the reason? So when you ask that question, so these things come into the focus. Otherwise, you never ask that question. Why am I listening to Vedanta? You never ask that question. And that means you are just doing it routinely. Okay? So people convert this Vedanta Shravanam into a routine. So, see, one person went to a home, a friend's home. There, everybody is crying. All the family members are crying. Then he asked the young man, hey, why are you crying? I don't know. My mom and my father are crying, therefore I am crying. Then is it? Then he asked the father, hey, why are you crying? I don't know. My wife is crying, therefore I am crying. So like that. Therefore, why are you listening to Vedanta? I don't know. All people are doing, so I am also doing. So this kind of a nonchalant approach towards listening to the speaker has no value. It has no value. The purpose of a study, it is not just listening, it is listening to know. That is, it becomes a study. The purpose of the study of Vedanta is to undergo that inner transformation. How much transformation? 5%, 10%? No. 100%. What kind of transformation? A caterpillar becomes a butterfly. That kind of transformation. If you look at a caterpillar, it is very slimy and crawling and all that, full of sharp hair. You don't want to touch it. Sometimes you don't want to even to look at it, right? That is the caterpillar. But when it is butterfly, people go out catching butterflies because they are so beautiful. So there is a net with a handle, you know that? And you catch butterfly. That is the Hindi cinema hero. Go on catching butterflies and singing a song. Right? So because butterflies are so beautiful, then you catch the butterfly, look at its wings and all the colors, the design, very beautiful. Then release it and then catch one more butterfly, like that. So the idea, so that kind of a butterfly is so beautiful. But its earlier stage, the larva stage, is so ugly, so ugly. The ugly looking larva becomes the beautiful butterfly. That is the transformation. There is a name for it. It is called mutation, transmutation. Not even transformation, it is a transmutation. That kind of a inner transformation is required to convert an unhappy, insecure, jealous, egotistic person into the universal Brahmanhood. That is the transformation. You can appreciate the transformation. So, happy, desireless, fearless, universal self. That is the transformation. So why I am saying this? Because people do not even know what they want. When they go to the marketplace, they know what they want. And when they go to a mall or a club or whatever, or a bank, they know what they want. And interestingly, when they go to a place of worship like a temple or whatever, they know what they want. They certainly know what they want. So, on Friday they go to Lakshmi temple. On Monday they go to Shiva temple. On Tuesday they go to Hanuman temple. They know what they want. And what Naivedyam has to be offered also they know. So, all custom-made Naivedyas for different gods and goddesses. They have all that knowledge. So they know what they want. They want a few desires to be fulfilled and a few fears to be assuaged. That is what they want. So, but when they come to Vedanta class, they don't know what they want. So, what do you want? You have come to a Vedanta class, you are welcome. I am not asking you not to come, and I am not frightening you, or I am not discouraging you, but I am asking you, what is it that you want? I told you, Sunday, that nonchalant attitude doesn't work. What you need is an inner transformation. Suppose you feel, where is the urgency for this transformation? Or you may even feel, where is the need for transformation? We are doing fine. Where is the need for transformation? If that is how you feel, then the Vedanta class is not for you. You may do a better job, better thing than attending a class, because it has no relevance to you. Right? So, you see, there is a diabetology center. Who will go to that center? People with high sugar go to that center. My sugar is all right, it is not high. Why should I go to a diabetology center? So there you need some transformation. The sugar levels have to come down. That's why you go to a diabetology center. Similarly, this ugly, desiring, fearing, small egotistic self, that is the ugly self, very ugly it is, has to be transformed into the Supreme Self, which is Brahman. That is the reason that you should come for Vedanta class. So you have to ask that question also. Then there is a real chance of inner transformation. Yogi samshuddha kilbishaha. So what is this samshuddha kilbishaha? Kilbishaha is translated as a papa. Samshuddha papaha. Papa is translated as sin. Okay? But the sin in the religious context is not the same sin in Vedanta context. They are two different things. In religious context, drinking water while standing is sin, whereas drinking water while sitting is virtue. You know that? You don't know that? Okay, that is not the example. Then there is another example. Going around the temple in anti-clockwise direction is sin, and going around the temple in clockwise direction is virtue. Now you understand? Huh? And sitting facing the north is sin, sitting facing the east is virtue, right? So this is how the sin and other thing, that is how it works. Eating white garlic is sin, eating potato is virtue. How is that? So this is how it works. Some rules will be there. Dharma-shastra rules will be there. God knows why those rules are that way. I don't know. Till now I could not figure out why eating garlic is a sin. Because if you go to an Ayurveda doctor, they will give garlic as a medicine. But eating garlic is considered sin. I don't know what kind of sin it is. So this sin virtue, it works in a different way in religion. Like suppose you do dhupam and depam. Dhupadeepanantaram achamaniyam you have to do. You don't do achamaniyam, without achamaniyam you go to naivedyam, that is sin. So like this, commissions and omissions. There are commissions which are sin, there are omissions which are sin. Similarly, there are commissions which are virtue, not omissions. This is how it works. That is how people are accustomed also. Okay? Whereas in Vedanta, that is not the sin. Here, the sin is you entertain a desire in the mind, that is the papa. What is papa in it? Papa is not like the Dharma-shastra kind of papa, a blemish. So now you leave the word sin. Kilbishaha, papaha. The word is used. Word is not the issue. Word is used. But the very definition of papa is different in the context of Vedanta. Here you entertain a desire in the mind, that is the blemish. So I am dropping the word papa and translating it as blemish, not as a sin. Okay? Kilbishaha can be called papaha, which is translated as blemish. Okay? That is better, right? But some Mahatmas use the word sin to emphasize the point. Like for example, Swami Ramatirtha says, give up the evil companionship of desire in your heart. That is what he said. Almost like sin only. Evil. So what is evil? Entertaining a desire is an evil. And so where do you entertain this desire? In the mind. So, prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. So that is how you have to look at the kilbisha, samshuddha kilbishaha. That means this is the inner transformation. So in my consciousness there is no desire. I am not seeking anything. Really, that is the transformation. Generally, we seek a number of things. We seek so many things. There was a devotee. Bhagavan appeared before him and asked, I give you 3 boons. So please tell me, what do you want? Then he went into a frenzy. What 3 I have to ask? What 3? What 3? Bhagavan is waiting there. And then Bhagavan put a limit. I am giving you 3 minutes time. You choose 3 boons. I will grant them. 3 minutes time. This man went into a frenzy of mental activity and could not, no, not that, maybe more important, this, that, like that. He was struggling. 3 minutes were over and Bhagavan disappeared. That is the story. Okay? So, this is how we live. We have so many desires. So can you bring a transformation of that nature? Namely, I seek nothing. No, food, roti, kapada, makan, okay? The deha yatra, that is not included in the discussion. We are talking of the mind and intellect, okay? Therefore, we need some food. Suppose I am thirsty, I need a cup of water. That is not a desire. I need Coca-Cola, that is desire. Okay? Why do you need sugar water to quench the thirst? Carbonated, sugary water you don't need. In fact, it is not good. So, that is desire. And that will hurt you. The desire, so some people, people think we have to give up, then only there is virtue. It is not like that in Vedanta. It is not virtue in giving up for the sake of giving up. That is not virtue. That is not the virtue here. See, in the religious context, giving up food on Ekadashi day is a virtue. Okay? But then when you have to eat food, the first thing on Dvadashi day, the first thing that you do is food only. Okay? In fact, it is called Dvadashi Paranam. Paranam is eating, I suppose. So when Dvadashi came, early morning 5:42 Dvadashi came. So you start eating at 5:42. Arey, that is not the time to eat. But Dvadashi, you know. Okay, Dvadashi, early morning you eat plenty of food. Early morning. So take a bath and eat food only. Dvadashi Paranam. And what we do on Ekadashi day, we keep a fast, not eating anything, but we spend the time planning for the next day's early lunch and preparing for the next day's early lunch. Because the laddu cannot come just like that. Therefore, on Ekadashi day, make all the arrangements and make plenty of laddus and keep them. Then get vegetables and other things, keep them, and night you cut them and keep. So that early morning, 4 o'clock, you get up and prepare the food, and 5:30 you are eating the food. This is called Dvadashi Paranam. So that is the virtue there. In Vedanta, it is not about like that. That is not how you do. On Ekadashi also you eat simple food and in a moderate quantity. On Dvadashi also you eat simple food and moderate quantity. It has nothing to do with the Ekadashi Dvadashi thing. Fasting is good, I am not saying about it. But in Vedanta, the virtue-sin context is different. So people know the virtue-sin context in the popular religious situation only they know. They don't know the virtue-sin situation in Vedanta. That's why I am taking the opportunity. What is the opportunity? Samshuddha kilbishaha. That is the opportunity. To tell you what is the blemish or kilbisha in the context of Vedanta. So, the evil companionship of desire. That is the expression of Swami Ramatirtha. So you have to give up that. That is the kind of transformation. So, because what happens is, you are the absolute. You are absolute existence, absolute awareness, and absolute bliss. That is what you are. And by desiring this or that, you are compromising or you are tarnishing your absoluteness. And that is the kilbisha. So you should stop that. Therefore, in the path of self-realization, which is called yoga, these are some of the obstacles, and you have to cross these hurdles calmly and quietly. So you should not lose heart. These obstacles are bound to come, and you have to cross them carefully. And so there may be failures also. You should have patience and convert the failures into stepping stones. Do not relax your effort to to gain that inner transformation, that is how you have to do, you have to practice this yoga, and you are sure to attain the objective of self-realization in that way. Samshuddha kilbishaha. You see, I tell you, what is the other kilbisha? I am discussing some of these kilbishas. Kilbisha is a blemish, which amounts to a sin in the context of Vedanta. Okay? It is like somebody, he joined an institution to get out of smoking addiction, nicotine addiction, let us say. People are addicted to nicotine, and at home they will not be able to overcome that addiction, so they join an institution. There are such institutions, and they help you to come out of that addiction. And so they give you some antidotes for that craving, and they put a careful eye over you, and they encourage you. They teach you also the evils of smoking and all that. So all that they do. Okay? This person, he listens to the classes, they teach also. They teach what is tobacco and the smoke, what are the compounds which are there in that smoke. What is that smoke to begin with? What is that smoke? And what gases are there, what liquids are there. Liquids, aerosol particles will be there in that smoke. What are their constituents, etc. A lot of science is there, and they teach all that, and how harmful it is to the lungs and all that. So he listens to all the classes, and he takes the food given by them, and secretly he goes and smokes. Will that work? That is the sin, right? That is the sin. Whole day you study the ill effects of smoking and all that, and you are under the guidance of qualified instructors and physicians. They give you some antidotes for overcoming the craving for nicotine and all that, and take all those antidotes, and then you keep the smoking away. Then you will get the desired transformation. But secretly you go and smoke. So it is counterproductive. You are working against yourself. You cannot do that. So in Vedanta, these are the basic blemishes, and you have to overcome them. Samshuddha kilbishaha. That requires a real inner transformation. And one of them is identification with the physical body. That is the sin. The sin of identifying with the physical body, that is one sin. So you have to overcome that. As long as you identify with the physical body, you cannot realize your oneness with the Absolute. There is no way. So you have to overcome that. You see, physical body identification has to be overcome even to achieve some simple things of this world. Suppose you want to join a university and do a course. So you have to overcome the physical identification. You have to rise above the physical body and identify with the intellect and train the intellect and finish the course. That you have to do. Many young people do it all the time. And if you join military or some such a physical training or preparing for the Olympic Games or whatever, there if you say, I cannot give up my physical comforts, I have to have all the comforts because I am identified with the physical body, then you are not fit for that competition and all that. So, with the physical identification with the physical body, you will not be able to achieve anything in life. So you have to rise above the physical identity in every field of life. In every context you have to do that. What to speak of Vedanta? Therefore, once you stop identifying with the physical body, you are beyond the limitations of caste, creed, race, religion, etc. That is the first sin you should keep at bay. That is how that transformation has to come. Then there are three sins. They are sins in the sense they are the bondage. So the human being is bound in a cell made of three walls. Generally, if you go to a penitentiary, there the people, the convicts are bound or held in cells, and the cells are rectangular and they have three walls and one grill, iron rods. Okay? That's why in India there is a proverb in Telugu, the convict, what is he doing now? He is counting the rods that are there for the door. How many rods are there, he is counting. That is what they say. So this way, the person is held captive in four obstacles, three of them walls, and fourth is like a wall only, made of iron grill. Okay? So four walls, we can say. The person is a captive in the middle of four walls. Whereas in samsara, we are captives, we are bound, bondage, of three walls, in a cell made of three walls. And what are they? Space, time and causation. They are the three walls. So space, you identify with the space. You should go beyond space in Vedanta. That is the transformation. Can you do that? So you have to find out in how many ways you are identifying with the space. Like you say, I am an Indian, or I am an American, I am Californian, I am this, I am that. This is how you identify with the space. Okay? So regionalism, and fanatical nationalism, and this kind of identity politics, what they call, based on the body identity, based on space identity. When you say, I am a Kshatriya, I am a Vaishya, I am a Shudra, that is body identity, physical identity. When you say, I am a Punjabi, Madrasi, I am a Pennsylvanian, etc., you are identifying with the space identification. You have to rise above that also. So no more space identification. You have to become universal. That is the yoga. You have to discover your universal nature. How will you discover if you go on identifying with these limitations which are unreal, which are not real, and you should not identify with the space. Space is place, okay? Then you should not identify with the time. That is another identification. You have to see in how many ways I am identifying with the time. If you go to, just to give you an idea, I am giving the example, counter example. I can only give counter example. I cannot give example for non-identification with time. What example I can give? I cannot give example for non-identification with time. I can give example for identification with time. That is not example, that is called counter example. You got the point? Therefore, this is how people identify with the time. You should stop it. You should rise above that. What is the identification with the time? I was born on such and such a date. That is identification with the time. You were not born. It was the body which was born. Right? And even the body was not born because it was always there. Only it has been transferred from mother's womb to the outside. That is all. So even the body was not born, much less you were born. So why do you identify with the time? You should not. You should not identify with the time. Then there are some other identifications, like the flight is morning 9 o'clock, so I have to start at home morning at 7 o'clock. But morning 7, there is Durmuhurta, therefore I don't want to start. That is another identification with the time. It is not even identification, it is a superstition. So you should not get caught in these kinds of time-based superstitions. What do you mean by Durmuhurta? How you calculate? What is it? You have to ask all these questions. You may not like what I say. I cannot help it. Because I am talking of a transmutation of consciousness. That is what I am talking about. I am not giving some kind of a Purana lecture. Transmutation of consciousness. Therefore, all time is God. One way of looking at it, time is unreal. It's a mental category. There is another way of looking at it. Therefore, what is the name of God? Akal. Sat Shri Akal. That is what God is. So Sat existence, Akal timeless, Shri, that inner beauty, are all powerful, that is Shri. That is the God, Sat Shri Akal. That is you, that is the Atma. And you are so badly caught in these divisions of time, which are all artificial, unreal. There are no divisions in time. For the sake of convenience, you may have some divisions in time. Do you have time, hours in time? In the flow of time, are there hours? There are no hours. We have superimposed hours, days and all that. Okay? Therefore, you pull it in some direction and create a set of superstitions and get caught in these superstitions. That is not yoga. In fact, I wanted to say, to grow into this yoga, samshuddha kilbishaha, one more important condition is that you have to fulfill, and that is do away with superstitions. That is important. So, because you are not the body and you are not anything that is connected with the body. You are not anything of that connected with the body, and you are not the body. Therefore, if you are not the body, then you examine your superstitions, all of them will collapse. They will not have any basis in truth. Therefore, you have to overcome the identification with time, which is another sin. Then you have to go in, you have to develop into that consciousness in which you are beyond good and evil. The good and evil division is not for you. For people of that transformed consciousness, there is no division of good and evil. So, you see, you look at the body and say good or evil. You look at the mind and say good or evil. You look at the action and say good or evil. You don't look at the Atma behind all these, behind the body, mind and actions. Actions are life. Behind the body, life and intellect. Behind that is the Atma, which is free from all the limitations of body, life and intellect. You don't look at the Atma. You look at the body and intellect and divide as good and evil. The division has no value. So for a transformed a person of transformed consciousness, which is good and which is evil, Russia is good and Ukraine is evil, or Ukraine is good and Russia is evil? No. I gave you an example. So you go beyond these artificial divisions of good and evil. So first you should have a yardstick, a mental yardstick, and apply it. And then as you apply the mental yardstick, things get divided into good versus evil. Suppose the yardstick is taken out, you drop it, then there is no division of good and evil. Suppose the yardstick is changed, then the good may become evil and evil may become good. You never know. Therefore, you are not into this kind of divisions. You rise above such good and evil divisions. And when you do that, what I said, if you do that, means you rise above the physical identification and you rise above the time divisions, time and space identifications, and you rise above the good and evil divisions, that is when you realize your oneness with the whole. That is when you reach the goal of self-realization, which is also called God realization. People have a very distorted view of God realization. They believe that after some worship or some chant or some mantra, japa, etc., God will come and stand before them. That is how they believe. That is how the stories are told. There may be some symbolism in those stories. We have to look for those symbolism. There may be the story is pointing out something to you, and you are failing to see that. Probably you have to look for symbolism. You see, Dharmaraja was going to that town, Hastinapuram or Indraprastham, whatever. In the town, a beautiful palace was made for living for Dharmaraja's summer resort. Duryodhana has got it made. Dharmaraja with his other four brothers and mother, they can stay for a summer vacation and stay there and relax comfortably, because in Hastinapuram, the capital city, it is very hot in summer. So they can go there and live there for the summer vacation. That is the advice given by Dhritarashtra Maharaja to Dharmaraja. Dharmaraja never violates the paternal uncle's word. He is treated as equal to father. Father is no more. So Dhritarashtra's advice, Dharmaraja agrees. So he, his four brothers, his wife Draupadi and mother Kunti, so 5 plus 2, 7 of them, they travelled to the town and lived in that palace. They were about to make the journey, then Vidura told them. What Vidura told? You see, Dharmaraja, everybody knows it, this is not a rocket science. You see, these rats are there, They make holes in the ground and live in those holes. So what happens, even if the rats live in the house only, but people live in their house, but rats make holes and live underneath in those holes. So that even if the house goes in flames, rats are safe. That is what Vidura said. Suppose Dharmaraja is like our friends who study and learn these Puranic stories. Oh, Vidura is telling something very interesting thing about rats. Oh, is that how rats live? Very good. Suppose that is what Dharmaraja understood. So, it is not about rats. It is not the literal part of it. You have to take the spirit of it. What is the spirit of it? Dharmaraja understood the spirit. People think that Bhima saved the Pandavas. Bhima did not save, Dharmaraja saved. Bhima has the prana, life, but doesn't have this. Whereas Dharmaraja has that intellect, understanding. Therefore, there is a happy marriage of prajna and prana. So they were going. Then Dharmaraja started thinking, why Vidura tells about rats? Rats and all that. What is the context? Why rats make holes and live underneath? When the house goes in flames, rats are safe. What does it mean? So he was thinking about it. Then he reaches the place and sees the palace. It is a beautiful palace. He goes and examines the palace. It is very nicely painted and all that. In some place, the paint was a bit less. And there, so he looked at it. And then he found this palace is made with materials in which a lot of lac, that resin that comes from a tree and becomes hard. That resin. Pine resin. Pine trees, that pine resin. And that resin is used in the construction of this building. And therefore, if there is fire, it will catch fire quickly. That is inflammable material. Inflammable, that is the Victorian English. In America, they call it flammable. Okay? So, that is a flammable material. And that is how and therefore he understood. There are no rats in the building. Then he asked Bhima, you make a tunnel from the middle of the home, dig it down and make a tunnel to the outside of the compound wall, so that if the house catches fire, you cannot escape from the main door. We have to escape through the underground tunnel where fire won't reach. Fire goes up, fire won't go down. So therefore he made a tunnel. This is how the stories have to be carefully understood. Therefore God appeared before some devotee means that the story you have to carefully understand. You should not think that God is sitting there, travelled from there to here and appeared. The story sounds like that. You should not take the story literally. You realize the God only in one way. There is only one way to realize God, not so many ways. And that is, you realize the God as the innermost self. That is called God realization. And to arrive at that God realization, you have to extricate the self which is embedded in the physical body, and along with physical body, the self is embedded in space, time, and the opposites of pleasure, pain, good, evil, etc. So the truth is embedded in all these things. And so you have to extricate the truth out of these bondages. And for that, you have to be very understanding, and you have to transform your inner consciousness. Are you getting the spirit of transformation of the inner consciousness? So that is the job that you have to accomplish. It is not a physical job. That is the job you have to accomplish in the context of Vedanta. Generally, this is my way of putting it, I put the counter, face the truth with the untruth, so that the thing is carefully, properly understood. Generally, people think that Vedanta means you go and listen to it, something will happen. Like that they think. Nothing will happen that way. So you have to understand and you have to make it happen. Namely, it is not any physical thing. You have to make it happen. It means you have to make that inner transformation happen. That is the way you have to get rid of the kilbisha, the blemishes, samshuddha kilbishaha. Then one more kilbisha, and that is fear. Desire I have already explained. Fear. People are afraid. They are afraid. For themselves they are afraid. For the near and dear also they are afraid. Always afraid. So, this, why afraid? It is the character of a cowardice. That cowardice is there in us. That's why we are afraid. So, a courageous person will not be afraid. Right? And we don't want to be disappointed. We always want things to work in our favor. So this kind of notions we keep, and therefore we are afraid all the time that things may not happen in our favor. That kind of fear. And that leads to cowardice. Fear, you entertain fear in your heart, that is slavery. Fear is slavery, and fear is cowardice. So you need courage and resolution, that resolve, that is what you need. You don't need fear and cowardice. So when you study Vedanta, you have to study it with enthusiasm, and you have to contemplate on the vision, and to make that possible, you have to give up the fear and the cowardice and the superstitions which cause this fear and cowardice. You have to overcome that. Suppose you are afraid of Shani. Why should you be afraid of Shani? What is Shani? Shani is one of the planets. Shani is not a fixed name. Like Subarna, Venkarna, it is not such a name. It is called Shani because it goes round the sun slowly. Shanaihi charati, iti Shanaischaraha. All the planets have their own speeds in their own orbits, but of all of the 9 planets, this Shani is the slowest. It takes a long time to cover one orbit around the sun. Shanaihi charati, that is what they noticed and called it Shanaischaraha. In Sanskrit, it is Shanaischaraha, very difficult to pronounce, so they made an acronym. Like they called me Swami TV to make an acronym. Because my full name, even I find it difficult to pronounce, therefore I also forgot my name and I am staying with TV, that is my name. Because it's a simple acronym. Similarly, Shani, that is what it is. Now, a planet going slow around the sun, which is so far away from here, that a normal telescope is not enough to see the sun, Saturn, Shani. You need a real good telescope. And so that Shani, why should you be afraid of that Shani? What is this fear? Somebody has put that fear in your head, and that somebody says he is a scholar and you believe him. So the one who puts fear in you, how can he be a scholar? He can only be an ignoramus. He cannot be a scholar. Because you are birthless, deathless, you are timeless, spaceless, absolute awareness you are Brahman, and somebody should tell you that. Yeah, you are Brahmanappa. That is what somebody should tell you. Instead of that, somebody tells you that you have reason to be afraid of Shani. What kind of instruction it is? And you take it and become a cowardice, become a coward, so you should come out of all this. So fear, you have to recognize your Swarupa, which is eternal bliss. And your Swarupa is knowledge absolute. And you are the everlasting truth. That is what you are. It is not becoming of you to entertain such superstitions and to nurse such fears and cowardice. Therefore, you have to wake up from this slumber of ignorance. You have to wake up and you have to snap the bondage of worldly desires. And you do not look to others for help because you yourself have to depend upon yourself. You cannot psychologically depend upon others for your upliftment. Atmanatmanam uddharet. So, and therefore, do not be so cheap that the Shani will do harm to me. And so a cat coming in the right from the right will do harm to me. So a person asked a poet, which is a good omen, cat coming from left to right or from right to left, which is the good omen, he asked. The answer is, as long as the cat doesn't jump upon you, it just doesn't matter whether it comes from left to right or right to left. What is cat coming in the way and therefore bad omen? Who told you all this? This is the cowardice, this is the fear, and this is the superstition. This is how we become insecure. You should look at the face of the death and smile. Come, you are welcome, like that. Death is God, you know that. Death is God. So, therefore, fear, I said many times, so all these things, so you have to get rid of. These are the kilbishas. Okay? So, then finally, the samshuddha kilbishaha. I am not finishing that verse, okay? Because if I finish that verse, then next, after 2 weeks Sunday, then like that if we go on finishing, it will remain there. And somebody else will finish the chapter. Another Swami will finish. So, kilbisha, another kilbisha I have in my mind to present before you for your kind consideration. And that kilbisha is worldly pomp and show. That is a kilbisha. We should not go for that. Very sad it is. Because all this glamour or glory that we pursue is very transient. It is very, like a very fickle it is, and it will vanish in no time. You should not go for such pomp and show. So you have to accumulate all that energy and create that spiritual evolution within you. That energy you have to use to bring that transformation within you. So you should not waste the energy and the resources, of course. Resources are less important. The energy, that inner energy, if you waste it in pomp and show, you lose the way. So you have to conserve all that spiritual energy, and you have to bring about this inner transformation, and so that takes you to the eternal life. So some of the sins, the samshuddha kilbishaha, I have discussed, and then if you can understand, I will say one or two more things. You assume yourself to be a parichinna jiva. Parichinna means limited. So conditioned or limited jiva. Everybody assumes himself to be like that. That is how it works in the context of popular religion. So suppose you take a sacred bath. Who is it that takes the sacred bath? The jiva, the soul, limited, identified with the physical body, having some punya and lot of papa punya soul. That soul is taking the sacred bath to get rid of the sins and to acquire the merit. Right? Am I right? No? I'm not right? Huh? You don't want to commit, eh? You want to sit on the higher pedestal without committing. Now once again I am asking you, when you take the sacred bath, are you the limited jiva who has sins to be washed away and a merit to be acquired or not? Yeah, you are that jiva. You are wrong. That is how you are led to believe in the context of popular religion. That is not Vedanta. That is a different context it is. It is okay in its place, I suppose, I don't know. But here it is not okay. Here you are the limitless, sinless Brahma. That is what you are. You have to know yourself and be liberated. Man, know thyself and be liberated. That is what it applies to you. Swami Vivekananda used to say, it is a sin to call you the sinner. Amrutasya putraha, that is the address of the Veda. Putraha is a sambodhana prathama bahuvachanam. O Amrutasya putraha, O children of immortality. That is the address of the Veda. It doesn't address you as papi. Somehow, this papa has come into our lives. Papoham, papakarmaham, papatma, papasambhavaha. Look at that. Take flowers into the hand and say this sinful verse. Trahiman narakad ghorad, something. And then something more. And go round and put the flowers to the god or goddess. How do you like that? So that is how you take yourself to be. Sin and sin and sin. That is the only topic. There is no other topic. Once there was a meeting in which there were two speakers, and I was one of the speakers, and another person is another speaker. He spoke for 45 minutes and I spoke for 45 minutes. The essence of his speech is, you are all sinners. There is so much papa in your lives. And so you have to wash off all that papa. For that you have to do so many prayashchittas. So many fastings you have to do to wash that papa, this papa. That is the essence of his 45 minutes speech. And then I told him before starting, Himaya, what kind of you put that kind of a notion into the people's head? He says, yeah, they have to be told because they are sinners. What about us? We are not sinners, only the listeners are the sinners. What a misfortune. You are not sinners. The very idea that you have sinned is wrong. You rise above the body-mind identification, and now you are the Brahman, the most pious. So you are not a sinner. Even to think that I am a sinner, I am a jiva, I am limited, I have to wash off my sins, I have to do this atonement, that atonement, etc. And I have to take this sacred bath, that sacred bath, etc. to wash off my sins. You take the sacred baths, I am not saying anything about it. What I am saying applies to washing off the sin. So how do you think by taking a bath you wash off your sin? How do you think so? So all such superstitions, superstitions about washing off the sin, that is what I am saying. I am not saying about any river or bath, okay? So you have to overcome all these false notions and you have to discover your Brahmanhood. You are Brahman, you are the Absolute, you are the awareness Absolute, you are that, Tattvamasi, you are the timeless, spaceless, awareful being which is Brahman, which is the God. That is the message. Tattvamasi. God bless you. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam